The time is just gone 27 minutes past 8 a.m. as we continue with news and views this morning. If you have just tuned in, we welcome you to the show. And it's time now to take a look at the Kenyan elections. And there is a tight race for the presidency. We're going across to be joined by journalists based in Kenya by Mohammed Yusuf. Mohammed Yusuf, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having me.
Yes, wonderful you're able to join us this morning. Now, it is clear that, with the Kenyan elections, at this point in time, we have learned that there is a very, very tight race for the presidency. And just looking at where we are and the latest update as far as the elections go, what is the latest status?
What is basically still ongoing now is the tallying, and the AIBC is trying to put the numbers together that were announced at the polling stations at the beginning of Tuesday night, and including yesterday and even today. That is what the current electoral commission is doing, trying to put those numbers together, to tally those numbers and come up with a number. But we have 46,000 polling stations across the country, and all the 46,000 results have actually been delivered, and not delivered in digitally, and that means that it's delivered in the electoral commission's portal. So anyone who would like to access those numbers can get the forms, the signed by the agents, and all the 46,000 forms is there. But the challenge has been, I think, until yesterday around 5 p.m. about 98%, and now we are at 99%. All forms have been digitally delivered. But the challenge now is that the Electoral Commission in the capital Nairobi will have to get all those forms physically presented at the headquarters here in Nairobi, and the IBC commissioners and IBC officers will have to go through those 46,000 forms. And that's a challenge. And so the Electoral Commission have also told the media and anyone who likes to put the numbers together can go ahead. The forms are in the IBC portal, and that's what the Kenyan media have been trying to do. They've been scrambling around trying to look for numbers, and we're seeing several media having different numbers. But one thing is becoming very clear: it is a very tight race, and the numbers keep changing. The difference we're seeing, for example, in one TV station, Deputy President William Ruto, who is the main candidate, winning slightly, and Raila Odinga not that far behind. So we're talking of difference of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000. That's the rate we're talking about here now, and that has been the difference so far. But we can, as it is now, there's no someone we can say clearly has really, the margin has grown so big and maybe we can have a winner. But it's so far 40, 50,000. That's the range we're talking about difference at the moment.
Yes, and also I think when one looks at the elections and the issues in the build-up to the elections, the economy must be top of the list. And coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, this has obviously made the situation even worse. And I'm sure that voters uppermost in the mind of voters is economic considerations, things like high cost of living, but also at the same time looking at the government and its performance as far as managing the country goes, managing the economy. And this is the reason why also that we see that there is this very, very tight race between the opposition. We talk of Raila Odinga and the Deputy President William Ruto.
Yes, of course, the issue of economy is a very big factor for many people. But in this election also, what has become also very clear is the turnout. The commission, the electoral agency now says the turnout is about 65%. But in previous election, which was 2017, we were talking of about 80%, and you can see that's 15% drop. And now the challenge is, then of course there'll be a question why there's a drop of that number. And the issues this time in Kenyan elections are very different, in the sense that before it was an ethnic sort of mobilization sort of election, but now it became more of an issue based. And as you rightly said, the issue of economic the economy has become affected because there's lack of employment, there's high cost of living. Many attribute to the global pandemic, but also generally across the world there's high inflation. There's a lot of things going on, and Kenya is not left behind. And but behind even all of that, Kenyans tend to understand this is a global issue, but the problem has also been rampant corruption, and this is something that as a country and people leadership has really struggled to handle that kind of situation. And that has been also an issue, of course, lack of employment, and people seem to be really disillusioned. They're not really happy, and that's why we're talking of in IEBC, the commission itself, when they were trying to register voters. Many youths did not turn up. So, for example, in 2017, the total registered voters were about 20 million. Now it's 22 million. So, what was the addition here? It's about 2 million. If you really, of course, bearing also in mind the deaths and all of those kind of things, but generally. People are not really happy with so far how the country has been governed, and this election is also coming at a time when people are hungry, and of course people cannot afford food in the market, and it will be interesting to see what the next government how is going to solve that situation.
Yes, Brother Yusuf. I think we just lost sound there for a little while. I'm not too sure whether you can hear me. I've just got a message that's come up on my screen saying, Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother. Why is it that our African leaders, whenever they are elected, they become selfish, greedy, and devouring the wealth of the countries for themselves and forget about the people they are leading?
Yeah, it is. That's a question. Everyone, of course, will be the platform, the manifesto. Of course, you people like it, and it's quite an interesting way of looking at the politics generally in the continent. It's flashy, and people see, and maybe this is the solution. But the reality is, when someone gets to power, things are very different. Remember, also, these people they have friends. They have to, and for example, in the case of Kenya, you have many people who are done with their terms. For example, Kenya has a devolved system of governance. So we are talking of governors. So if you are a governor and you've run for 2 terms, which is 10 years, it's over. You're done. You should leave. And so you have all these governors who have finished their terms, trying to run around and try to get positions. And when you get to that point, of course, that becomes a problem, and you have to consider all these people in the government. And also sometimes governments also try to bring technocrats, but because generally also the African population are used to having politicians in the ministries, you find that people who have been taken away from the private service or the private sector, they're not in a way they're not at bar with people, and so people are not quite satisfied with the way they handle things. But of course, that has been a challenge. But it'll be very difficult to see now how Kenyan next government is going to handle that situations. But many times, generally, people in Kenya and of course many places in Africa have been so much disappointed in the people they elect in leadership.
Well, Mohammed Yusuf, I must say Jazakallah khairan once again to you for coming on and talking to us this morning. We certainly will follow developments. We will be watching the space, and we will be looking at the outcome of the elections. But for now, we thank you for your time. We do appreciate you taking time out, talking to us this morning. All the best to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having me.
Mohammed Yusuf, journalist based in Kenya. We're going to go for a break. We'll be back. We'll be joined by Shanaz Parak, CEO of Penny Appeal South Africa.